We good? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we now call to order our February meeting and want to welcome everybody here tonight. See a full house. I also want to wish everybody a happy Black History Month. Of course, we meet on the 4th Monday of February, so the month is almost over. But again, I want to wish everybody greetings tonight. Also ask you if you join me in a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together again in this wonderful community. While the full agenda may look intimidating, Father, we thank you for the blessings and challenges you bestowed upon us, because the challenges will make us grow even better and grow even closer as a community. Father, we ask you to be with us tonight as we make the decisions, and we ask that you guide us and that the decisions we make are in the best interest of the people of Blackstone. We ask for these things in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
We invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Folks, we have a full agenda. We have almost a full house, but we don't have a full staff. Our town manager has got the flu, and when Philip is out, you know it's bad. Our finance director has had a death in her family, and so our thoughts with Jennifer Hardy tonight on the passing of her father-in-law. And we also have Yvonne Wilson, our Director of Community Relations. She's, I think, going to a conference, en route to a conference, so we will do the best we can, but we are still well-staffed here.
And our transit director is out sick as well.
Josh Worrell. So but the business of the people comes first, and we're going to get right into that. We have a scheduled hearing. I don't see any deer in the audience, but I do see some dearly beloved constituents. An ordinance to prohibit the feeding of deer. The hearing's been advertised. Basically, the gist is this. It's illegal to throw out bait in town limits. If this ordinance is adopted tonight, corn, things like that. Now, the question was asked at the last council meeting, how do you know if I'm feeding deer or feeding squirrels? If there's a complaint, the Blackstone Police or a state game official will visit your property. If they conclude you're feeding deer, they have the right to order you to cease that practice. We have had complaints in one part of town in the Forest Drive area. And the concern is, of course, we love to see the deer, but we know in the summertime they bring with it the tick that carries Lyme disease. So I'll open the public hearing tonight. Anyone to speak for or against this proposed ordinance on prohibiting the feeding of deer? I hear no one. I'll close the public hearing. Members of council, what's your pleasure?
I think it's getting a little big government, to be honest. I mean, how are we going to enforce it and keep it in check? We've got one complaint, but Southside Virginia, whether you feed them or not, they're going to be in your yard.
Okay. And we agree, and just so y'all know, we didn't, no one on this council advocated the ordinance. It was in response to complaints. We decided to advertise, hear what the people had to say. Does not appear to be a burning, pressing issue among those of you here tonight.
Well, I had the person that complained was in my ward.
Would be.
And the deer visit my yard. They've eaten all the hospice. They've eaten my prized roses. And I don't want to encourage them to come anymore. You know, what we have in the regular landscaping is going to attract them anyway, but I don't want to encourage it anymore. I would say I would vote against feeding the deer with the game that they like, the food they like.
Very good. Anyone else on this side?
I would have to agree with her. They're already here, so why entice them to come in, or more to come in? It's just a matter of time before they start getting more motor vehicle accidents due to deer, because they're all over the place in the fall. So.
Good points. Good points all. Anyone to my right? Concerns about this? Is there a motion one way or the other?
I make a motion that we adopt this policy. Okay. Not feed but feed out.
And what would be the effective date? I imagine it would take we could set the effective date as to tonight, maybe May 1st, just to get the word out. I don't know. Ms. Hasbrook has made a motion. Is there a second to her motion?
I second motion.
Ms. Jones has seconded. Any further discussion?
Did we hear from anybody who is feeding the deer as to why they're feeding the deer?
I have not. I have been told of alleged deer feeders, but have not confronted them because it has not been illegal.
What about those? I mean, we've got parcels in town that are a couple hundred acres. So this prohibits them from feeding deer.
The ordinance as it is written, yes, it would. Anywhere in town limits, it would be the feeding of deer, salt blocks, that sort of thing.
I don't think you really need to bring them in town, or bring more in town. That's you just asking for problems. Because once you start feeding them and more get onto it, you're gonna see more and more coming in.
Any further discussion before we vote?
Do you want to include in the motion May 1st?
What is the enforcement? I mean, how,
The way I read the ordinance, Mr. Nash, I thought about that reading my package yesterday. It basically, let's say we get a complaint that Sally Smith is feeding deer, a police officer or perhaps even a Department of Game and Inland Fishery person would go and investigate. If they conclude this practice is consistent with baiting or feeding deer, they would write a notice, and that person would then be, deemed, if he or she does it again, they would be in violation of the
I mean,
ordinance.
my only concern is not so much, okay, feed the deer, attract them or not, but we can't even control the dog population or the cat population by saying our police force is overwhelmed now. So we're just gonna throw one more thing? And we're not gonna control it. It's impossible.
I get what you're saying about big government, but at the same time, if you put in those salt blocks, they're not for squirrels. So, let's don't bring them in. They come in as it is. So, I mean, if it's cut and dry.
Enforcement is what I'm concerned. It's just gonna burden, I mean, we just tasked our police chief with derelict cars and we can barely even keep up on that. I mean,
Okay, well,
but we'll vote. That's fine. I mean,
we've had some good discussion. We will have, it is Ms. Thompson's night to start first tonight, so we'll have a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
I'm gonna abstain on this one.
Okay, yeah, we have,
I didn't feel like I was here.
okay, we have abstention.
no.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
The motion carries 5 to 1 with one abstention. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna, before we get to the budget billing meeting, several members of council did ask after the last council meeting if I would bring back on the agenda, and it's on your agenda in the audience, it's on unfinished business number 4, preparing food downtown in the historic business district. I've had some members of council who voted for that. To place this on the agenda to be, first, there would need to be a motion to reconsider, and then it would be a motion to rescind if that's the pleasure of council. But the motion to reconsider must be made by one of the 4 on the prevailing side of the 4-3 vote.
I'd like to put that motion back on the floor to reconsider.
Mr. Miller has moved to reconsider. The second, anyone can make the second.
Second.
All right, I'm gonna give the second to Mr. Miller. All in favor to reconsider and revisit, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is, the issue of cooking food downtown is now open for discussion. It was banned by a 4-3 vote. Just to rehash, the town manager informed the council there had been some complaints about smoke from one lot in particular downtown. There was probably not as much information that presented as normally is presented before council makes a big vote. I did a little research since the last meeting. I was astonished and sort of proud. I asked one person in particular who does fundraisers. I think they've had, I lost my notes, but basically about $30-some thousand in the last 4 years by one vendor who's a nonprofit has been raised for charity on that lot in the last 4 years. And that's just one person.
I move that we table it indefinitely.
All right, motion to be made to table the issue indefinitely, which would,
Back to normal as it is.
it's allowed. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
Second.
All right.
Oh. You moved to do what now?
Table the issue, meaning we're back to status quo. They can cook downtown.
Well, you need to rescind the action you took, because right now we're just reconsidering. We need a motion to rescind the ban. We have to have that. All we've done is
I move that we rescind the ban and continue practice as it was.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, Colonel Thomas seconded Mr. Nash's motion. This is to resume business as usual. Any discussion?
Well, I voted for them not to cook. For me, it's a health issue and my business issue. The smoke comes into my store, and it's worse on my allergy than it is the store, I think. And because I do support them, because I love those ribs. But it does bother me, and it bothers some of the other people, but they just don't say anything. So.
Okay. Is it bother you, is there a certain time of year where it's better or worse, or is it based on the wind conditions, or is it just bad every time?
It's really bad every time.
Okay.
Because I don't take allergy shots anymore, but I used to take allergy shots, and it does bother me. But like I said, I support what they do.
Okay. Okay. Motion been made and second to rescind the ban last month and to basically keep things as they are. The ban was not going to take effect till April 1st. There's been no change in rules since then. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I have a 7-0 vote. Now we'll get into the public input meeting on the budget billing. And in a nutshell, for the last, I would say, Mr. Nash and I will say, and Ms. Thompson, the last 4 years, people have asked the town of Blackstone to have a budget billing program. We are proud to say that that moment is upon us. We have Jessica Meadows who can go over the requirements. And in a nutshell, I believe one of the requirements is you don't have to have 12 months of good payment history, because a lot of the people who need the budget billing, that's why they need it, because they've had trouble paying their bills. But I think it's 6 months.
6 months.
Jessica Meadows, the floor is yours. You're our budget billing specialist.
If that's what you want to call it. Yes. Okay, so first of all, I feel like, let me see. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as the eligibility requirements.
Yes.
We're requiring this service only for residential customers who have a 12-month billing history at their current location. And that is just because we need that 12 months in order to figure their budget balance.
That's right.
And then, like you just spoke of, the 6-month good standing with the town of Blackstone.
When does open enrollment begin? If some people are interested right now, when can they start?
We can start enrollment now. The rollout date, we don't have a specific date at this time. We're still working with Bright to kind of work out some kinks as far as the billing and the computer side of it, figuring the amounts and reflecting on the bill. Now, I do have a copy of the bill. We're hoping to, the cosmetic part of it is pretty much done, but like I said, we'll have some work to do as far as the figures and with how they reflect on the bill. So,
When would that 8.5 by 11 bill start going out?
we're hoping
We hope for
the end of this month.
April 1.
So your bills, ladies and gentlemen, will no longer be in the small cards. In April, they will start being a nice 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
No,
So
the end of March. So your April bill, yes.
April 1st
I'm
bill.
sorry. Yeah.
and you say 6 months of good payment. That's only electrical side, correct? That doesn't include taxes or real estate or personal property.
No, just you, yeah, just your utility.
Because a lot of the folks are renters who don't really pay any real estate taxes.
Right, right. So they can start signing up now. I can take their information, fill out an application. I can let them know what their budget billing amount is gonna be. There's an approval or a rejection, you know, as far as if they qualify. But like Brittany and I just said, it will probably be the end of March before, we don't have a definite
And that's
at
just when
this
it will
time.
change from the postcards to the
Right.
8.5 by 11. It'll
Right.
still be regular utility billing. It will just look different. As far as when the budget bills will actually go out.
We're still working on that.
So we're working on it.
That's fine, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not been easy. We're trying to coordinate the computer billing system. And again, one thing I learned a year ago when we had really high bills because of the winter, I did not realize this, many of you may have, but our staff has a number of residents who have their own individual payment plans because we do work with people. We don't want to shut people's lights off, especially in the wintertime. But what's going to happen with the budget billing, basically you're either going to be in the budget plan or the regular payment plan. There's no really in between. All these individual customized plans for Mrs. Smith or Mr. Jones are going to stop. Am I correct? I want,
I have a few questions.
okay, absolutely, absolutely.
So, like you said, we have the budget billing, we'll have the budget billing and then the utility billing. As you know, during the winter months and sometimes throughout the year, we have individual payment plans. So, this month we had close to 35 individual payment plans and extensions. I would like to maybe refer this to a committee. I believe there needs to be some kind of stipulation on extensions, individual payment plans, because as you know, the bills are sent out February 1. You have until the last business day. You then have an additional 15 days to pay before you're disconnected, or sometimes 17 days. So you have anywhere from 45 to 50 days to pay your bill. But I'm having people call and ask for an extensions, which I get under certain circumstances, you need an extension for an additional month. 2 weeks to a month.
That's
And I
tough.
feel that there needs to be some kind of stipulation on the extensions, because people move in that time period, or, you know, they may get an extension for a month and we never get the payment.
Right, someone moves away and all of a sudden they've got 2 months of accrued electricity that's,
Yeah.
that's,
It would be 3 if they
Yeah.
could full 30 days.
And
and
then
the
I
deposit's
did-
how much, $300? What's the deposit?
320 for electric and water.
Never cover.
Yeah,
And just like this morning, I had to cut off multiple people because they didn't live up to their extensions.
right.
And they could have moved. We don't know. We may not get that payment.
I will refer your request about the time period for extending specialized payment plans to the Health and Ordinance Committee.
Okay.
But it had been my understanding that once this plan takes effect April 1st, there will be no more, well, Billy Colburn has a little special plan because he gets a check at so-and-so, and then some, you know, to my understanding, you're either going to be in the budget system or not in the budget
That's the
system.
easy way for the ladies, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's no, I need it until Friday, or I need it until next Friday. It just makes it a lot more difficult to keep up with, and once you extend it, you don't want to have to go and disconnect someone just because they
No.
didn't make their extension on time, but you have no choice, and then it makes it hard if you give someone an extension till March 1st, and then you tell someone else, just because of, not bad behavior, but because they didn't pay, you're like,
Right.
well, I can't give you another one because last time you didn't pay.
Right.
It's not fair to me because we don't have any ordinance or policy on it.
Yeah, it's putting a lot of
So I have
pressure on you.
no reason to
Right.
tell someone one person can have this long and the other person can only have
Correct.
3 days.
Brittany, I commend you for that. You're trying to be fair to everybody. I agree.
I think we need an across-the-board
Yeah.
for
So you-
everyone.
But you wouldn't be able to get an extension if you on the budget plan anyway, can you?
No, but regular utility billing, we do extensions. There's no policy or ordinance stating that we have to or we don't. But if someone calls after the 45-day mark, when their bill was due in that 45 days, and they hadn't made one payment, and they say, I want an extension, I have no rule telling me I have to tell them no or yes.
She's saying if you don't sign up for the budget billing, you still have those that will be eligible for having come in and getting payment plans, because there is not going to be, say if they're not eligible for the budget or for the budget billing.
Right.
So it's two.
Because of their poor credit history. They have not
Right,
established
right.
6 months of good on-time payments.
So that's what she's asking.
Right.
It's not someone that's in the, because if you're in the budget billing, you're not going to have that option.
We're not gonna solve that tonight. I'm gonna refer that to Health and Ordinance.
Correct.
Health and Ordinance. We're not, but that's a great point, Brittany. Great point.
Sounds good.
I'd like to, who in the audience is interested in the budget plan, possibly enrolling? Okay. Anyone here tonight in the audience have any questions, concerns, opposition, support of the budget plan? I see Dr. Leroy Bradshaw. Yes, sir.
My question would be, people that are coming to the Ministerial Association, asking for help with electrical bills that are cut off, how would that be handled?
We always-
Are we going to the
Cut off.
extension?
Come quick.
We help them, are we paying for an extension, or are we paying for their monthly?
It really just depends on the account. Some may be a current bill, some may be a past due bill, or the customer may be disconnected. But as soon as you make that pledge, we always go and reconnect the customer as soon as you make the pledge that you're gonna pay their bill.
Okay, but are we paying, so it would vary?
It would
Yes.
vary. I would ask whoever you're helping, without being, blunt about it, say, may I see your bill or your statement from the town?
Depends on how soon they come.
What is it you
Right.
owe?
They won't come to us until it's.
Right.
Well, I promise you, y'all get a lot of referrals from me.
So you would be paying the regular bill, including late fees, and possibly a reconnect fee when they come to you at that point.
Well, this is a step forward. Just to remind people, in November 2013, it used to be, until November 2013, you got your bill on the 1st, it was due the 15th. And one of the things I championed was giving another 2 weeks to pay your bill. The late Sam Moncur predicted, and he was right, he said, what we're doing tonight is nice, but it will not reduce the number of pink slips. And lo and behold, the number of pink slips, despite that extra 2 weeks, is the same or higher than it was in 2013. Now, I'm not saying that means people are making bad decisions. It might be the, local economy. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is every month there are 360 pink slips. And there were about 300 4 years ago.
I mean,
5 years ago.
typically out of those 360.
Depending on the time of year, anywhere from 20 to 50 each month. And that's not, but see, it may be 80, but 30 of those people got an extension.
Right. Luckily, we've had a relatively mild, compared to last winter, we've had a mild winter compared to last winter.
Is it usually the same customers getting an extension?
Mostly.
I see a question. Michael Bagley, yes, sir.
I have been through the building situation that we're talking about. My question is, if you enroll and you say my household is allowed to pay $200 a month.
Okay.
I do well for a certain amount of time, that maybe something happened, I'm not able to pay that $200. If I fail, do I get to go back into the budget plan?
You're kicked out. You're immediately, any late payment immediately kicks you out of the budget plan.
6 more months of
Right,
good
after
payment.
6 months of good payment, you can enter into the program again.
I've been through it before at another location, I didn't have a problem.
But what we're hoping to do, two things on this, I think, and counsel, you correct me if I'm wrong. Number one, we're trying to meet a request of the people that have been clamoring for years. Every other utility provider has a budget plan, why can't Blackstone? And then conversely, we're also trying to help. You know, we don't have that big a staff, and when you've got 30 different payment plans, and oh, by the way, you're doing DMV transactions, and then there's things going on in the daily life of a town, we're trying to reduce the pressure on staff who are trying to keep, becoming part-time bankers with payment plans. So we're trying to help the people first and foremost, but also help the staff. I think, am I right? I'm trying to. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments before we move on with our agenda? It is meaty tonight. We have a large agenda. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, she's done first.
Look for those easy-to-read bills on April 1st. Hopefully they won't be a shock to your system.
She has one more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
One more
Yes,
thing.
yes.
Okay. And I just want to say that people can start applying for the budget billing. I'm talking about business license. Budget billing now. They can contact Jessica or stop by the office and get an application, or they can fill out the brochure that we passed out tonight
Very good.
and get information on it.
Very good. Thank you, Brittany.
You're welcome. Okay. So as you know, Jennifer Hardy has been doing the business license audit on 2017 gross sales.
Yes.
We just need a little guidance on what to do next. We have 27 businesses that have provided no documentation at all. Some of them may be out of business. We're not really sure. We've called, we've sent letters. The girls have Googled numbers. We've been on every site we can to get numbers for them. We have no response from them. So I'm thinking our next question is, do we have Tessie send out letters? We just need to know where to go from here.
The deadline to pay your business license tax was?
March 1st is the deadline for the 2019 renewals, but this is
Okay.
for the audit.
For the
That
audit.
deadline was,
February 5th, I believe.
I would suggest April 1st, but they get letters from, I would say March 15th, they start getting letters from Tessie if they haven't responded.
Okay.
It's another 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
What are y'all's common consents? I mean, I'd rather, you want to give leeway, but at the same time, folks, it's like your gross, it's based on 0.2% of your gross sales. What blows my mind is how much money has Blackstone not been collecting for the last umpteen years, just out of by the honor system. I mean, it's probably many, many thousands.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay.
And one more thing. If they are not compliant, we've received no documentation, and they want to come in and renew their 2019 business license, we cannot renew, in my opinion, I would say we cannot renew until they're compliant with the audit.
I think that's a very reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very reasonable.
Okay. Okay, that's all I need.
Very good. Thank you, ladies. Outstanding. We'll go ahead and take care of the minutes. You have the minutes from your January 28th meeting.
They were fabulous.
They were outstanding. I full praise to the clerk yet again.
I move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Nash, second by Mr. Morgan to adopt the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We have two visitors. I'm going to move one up. I was asked to put Bessie Gregory on under the first visitor. Is Miss Gregory here? I know. Is there anything you care to say? You spoke very passionately, eloquently in January. Anything you care to add about the? We're gonna. That's on the agenda tonight. If you want to, folks, we can take it right now. We had really two issues. We had Ms. Gregory's 66,000 gallon water bill, and we also were confronted not too long after that with a 50-some thousand gallon water bills from the office of 52,000 from the North Main dental office of Dr. Bradshaw, who wasn't there for about a week at that time. Visiting Grant, we can take that issue before you right now, members of council. The committee discussed it. I believe there was no recommendation from the Fire and Water Committee. Chairman Wilkinson, is that right?
Well, we did talk about it, and we wanted to go visit her house, and Councilman Miller and I did go over to her house and look at it, and in my opinion, she has a toilet that that is leaking. It's not leaking grossly, but it is
Over time.
letting water out, so.
Is it a sticking toilet where the handle
It's
sticks
not-
down?
No,
Is that-
it's not that the flapper is being stuck up, it's
Right.
just, it needs to be replaced so, Philip came by when we were there and we talked about replacing the toilet. And that we could cut the bill in half due to the leak.
Now I'm gonna pass this around. This is just.
You're saying waive the sewer because of the water was not, was a lot of water, if it leaked that much, it should have been like, with the floor rot with that much water?
You know, it was, when we went down there and we raised it up, it came up, but I personally, I don't see how, no way that she lost 66,000 gallons of water
From that leak?
from that leak, no.
Okay.
That is a massive amount of water.
That's and we went all around the house, there was no water standing, and as I said, when Miss Gregory, when I went to the house, when she first called me and I went around there was no water, nowhere around there. And you know, for 66,000 gallons of water, you should have seen something.
There's 2 swimming pools of a certain size swimming pool.
Right. So.
It's a tough issue, and just any other members of council. We've had a variety of water issues. In addition to that, we had a water leak.
And I'm just passing around the ordinance of what we usually do with customers who have leaks.
Right.
What we do an adjustment.
Okay.
How we go with the payment plan.
Sometimes the council will waive the sewer, which is 50% of the bill. Your water bill and sewer bill usually almost match identically. We allow payment plans. It is odd that, as a crow flies, the dental office and Miss Gregory's house, not that far away, probably about a quarter mile probably, in consecutive months. It's unusual. We also had a water issue with the contractor that severed a water line back in January, and that drained the water tank, but that was not all his fault because we had a valve that we could not shut off that had gotten paved over years later, and I don't think the contractor was charged for that water. I believe that's
I
right.
got another question too. You know, me and Mr. Wilkerson, when we opened the water meter, there was mud on top of this, where you read the meter at. Now, could that have anything to do with this reading?
When you lift the meter up under where the meter is, it was mud?
Oh, I had to,
It's wanded.
I took a meter the other day and had to look at it for another properity, and it was full of water.
Well, the guys.
But
that
it's
No,
just-
no, but I'm talking about where you read it at, it had mud on it. Now, would that have anything to do with the reading?
Not to my knowledge, the guys tell us all the time when they come back on meter reading day that they've had to clean off meters or either dip water, out of the hole there to read them.
But my question would be, not trying to say anything, but my question would be, if you're reading with a wand and you got mud on it,
It read correct.
could that change anything?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't, and plus we went back, Brenda actually gave me a little.
But the
time.
mud had never been cleaned off because when we raised it up, there was mud on top of this reader, on top of the meter. Colonel Wilkerson would tell you that.
We got multiple readings. I'm sorry.
I would think maybe mud might prevent an actual reading itself. I mean, but like one thing we all have in common, none of us are meter experts. I don't think anybody here's a plumber up here.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying.
I think we originally read on the 17th of December. We sent Andre Hicks back out on the 18th, and it was reading the same thing with the 66,000 gallons. And then she sent Charlie back on the 19th, and we got the same reading again.
So water,
It was read
whatever.
3 times back to back.
All right.
I wasn't there, so I don't know about the mud, but,
Right.
we
Understand.
did get multiple readings on it, and we had the same reading each time. So it didn't change at all.
But the question Brenda is back there. She's the expert at all this, so.
Well, I will say that Brenda Bryant called me one time at the Courier and said, Billy, your water usage is through the roof. And sure enough, we had a toilet that had been running over the weekend. It just so happened to coincide with meter readings, so I got lucky because I only had 2 days of not noticing the toilet was running because it was over a weekend.
Well, the copy of the letter that we had that was sent, was that before it was brought to the council's attention?
That was long,
Yes.
yeah.
She always, as soon as she gets that reading back, she sends.
But we didn't have a council meeting until 4 weeks later.
Right.
What happened was we had Ms. Jones, you wanted to say something?
No, I was gonna say, okay, if it, I mean, 66 gallons, where did that water go to? I mean, if we can't justify the water leakage, how can, I mean, we gonna charge her for it if we can't justify it?
If it, 66,000 gallons came through the leak around the toilet, I would imagine the house would be a complete wreck.
Yeah, that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
It just,
And that much water was leaking around the toilet, there'd be something in the basement, wouldn't it?
yes.
There is no basement, but yeah, underneath the house, there was nothing underneath the house. I don't think it's leaking around the toilet, I think it's just leaking down the toilet.
So into the drain, so that's why you're not seeing residue.
Okay.
So the rubber plug inside the toilet, is that
The
what's
flapper-
sticking?
The flapper doesn't stick up, it only goes up at about a 45, so that's what I thought the problem was, that it
Same here.
was stuck in the up position, and then you could
Constantly
burn
fill.
through about 120,000 gallons of water.
Sure.
But it did not, so it only came up that far, so it's obviously going back down. But it's old, it needs to be replaced, because I think it is leaking, I don't think it's leaking 66,000 gallons, but
It's back down to normal.
But if it was defective, if the rubber part in the commode was defective, then the leakage would continue. It wouldn't seal itself.
correct.
If there's rubber, it would not seal itself. That's,
Chains get hung up all the time.
surely, I've got one right now that does.
It could, I mean, the toilet could be running in there right now and it'd be a perfectly functioning toilet. It's just the chain got hung up on the flapper.
But you would
Happens
hear
all
it,
the
you'd
time.
hear it, and you
She
know,
wasn't home though.
right.
We wouldn't catch
So
it
that's
till we
where the
were
issue
here
was.
again, so we may not catch it for a
Ms. Gregory, yes.
Excuse me, but, I check my house every time I leave because I have been sick. And when I leave my home, I check everything. I've never had a running toilet, and I certainly wouldn't leave my house with a toilet running. And won't nobody at my house to flush it to have it be running.
Right.
So it started when I was gone, and it ended before I got home. How is that possible? And there was no visible water nowhere.
And I don't, I heard one of the hypotheses, and it's reasonable in the summertime, but no one would be taking 66,000 gallons of water from your spigot. If so, I mean, I don't know what they're doing with it in the wintertime, as wet as it's been. They don't need to irrigate their crops, that's for sure. Members of council, these are the tough issues that, they're just tough.
And what was wrong with the Bradshaw? Was there the toilet?
The same thing, we checked our toilet, we had them checked by other people, and we was gone for these periods of time, and nobody else was in the office at all. They come in and check on them as, we have, my son lives upstairs, but he comes down and checks them when we're not there, and there's no signs of any of the toilets, and we had the toilets checked.
And your normal consumption, if I'm not mistaken, you told the committee it ranges anywhere from the mid 3,000 gallons a month to maybe the mid 4,000. You had 1 month in July where I think you did have a toilet issue and it was 5,000 gallons. Not 52,000 gallons, but 5,000.
Is that somebody that can tell us with 100% confidence that the meters are working properly? With 100% confidence that the meters are working properly?
That's usually why we send Andre, because he's the head of the water and sewer. If Charlie gets the same reading and we notice it's a leak, we'll send someone different. So we're not sending the same person every time.
Right.
Just because they are doing something wrong,
Sure.
not realizing it.
Sure.
We'll
But
send
this is
Andre.
getting to the point, folks, it's almost like trusting your elections. When you start doubting the voting machine and the town water meter, we got no faith in anything.
Yeah, that's-
We can't shake the foundation over here.
In the past, we've waived the sewer, and that's how I'd be willing to, even though it did go down the sewer because it's not present in the house or under the house, I'd be willing for even the Bradshaws, they've paid theirs, I believe, but the sewer, I think they should have a refund, and I believe Ms. Gregory should not have to pay the sewer portion of the bill. If we go any more on that, we're just gonna get a flood of people coming in. My bill was $10,000 or 10,000 gallons this month, when there's a lot of people that do have a $10,000,
We need to know
10,000.
how to move
But-
forward if someone comes in.
Well, that's a big difference from 10.
My thing about that is,
66.
my thing about that is nobody's gonna come in here unless they get an outrageous bill. Nobody's gonna come in here raising Cain about no 10,000 or
I
20,000
also
gallons.
didn't think anyone would raise Cain about the food downtown. We make haste decisions.
Hey, you know-
Just like feeding deer, I can tell you, you're gonna hear more about the deer. It will come up.
I'm telling you, Eric,
that's
I'm telling you, Eric,
level
they're not
government.
gonna
Feeding
come in here
squirrel,
for no
feeding deer, two
10,000.
different things.
Eric.
Is any member, does
Holler.
let's come to order. Let's come to order. I see Jessica Meadows. Yes.
Yes, I was just gonna tell Eric, we do have people that are on payment plans at this time for a huge amount of water leak.
Oh, yeah, we have tons every month.
And so they're gonna come back and want their refund for that.
Maybe that's, we need to know how to move forward. If we give one a refund, you know, others are gonna request it.
And none of those that I'm aware of had sewer adjustments. We just broke it up into,
Correct.
payment plans that they can afford with their regular monthly.
Would this be crazy? I'm just throwing this out there for council because no one's made a motion yet. Would it be crazy to look at Ms. Gregory's normal consumption and look at Dr. Bradshaw's normal consumption, tack on another 1,000 or 2,000 gallons to their normal consumption and call it a day? Because I do have to say this, folks. No disrespect, we got a great contractor who does a lot of work in our town. We had a severed water line in January where the whole town was on a water shutdown basically, no water pressure, that the town manager said drain the tank on Church Street. And the contractor is not being billed for water. And that's about 100,000 gallons of water. Now, in the contractor's defense, part of the reason we drained the water tank was because the town valve was covered. But the fact of the matter is we lost 100,000 gallons on a Wednesday afternoon, and that inconvenienced everybody in this room. Mr. Gregory's problem didn't inconvenience Billy Colburn. Dr. Bradshaw's problem didn't, but we had a massive water leak caused by a severed line. So I think one of the things I try to do is to try to be fair. And would it be, you know, could we just tack on?
So if you do 1,000 gallons of water, that's gonna increase their bill $5.
Well, I'm just throwing that as a starting point. A starting point.
As opposed to $1,100.
I'm just throwing that as a starting point.
I want to say that I think that's very fair, what you're saying, to what we're going to have to.
Correct.
Have to do.
Right.
I think that's fair enough for everybody.
That's just a suggestion. Council makes the rules. I've been accused of butting in from time to
I
time.
believe he's talking about knocking off the sewer, that's what's fair, I believe.
Oh, you saying knocking off the sewer is fair? Or you saying that my suggestion to add a little bit to y'all's normal consumption and call it a day?
Any of those are good for me. I mean, it's a help.
Members of council, my famous words, what is your pleasure? We tabled it in January. One at a time.
Mayor, slow and steady, win the race.
That's right.
I still say 66 gallons of 1,000 gallons of water is too much. And he had what, 50?
52.
52. Do we normally have any other people who have that much of a leakage?
Well, ask them what,
All
the
the
ones that are
time?
payment plans currently, what was their usage roughly? I know it's not in front of you right now.
Two of them was like, one of them was two of them were last, February when we had really cold weather, and one of them was 446,000 gallons.
It's not uncommon.
What, was that a business?
No.
It was a water break, I
That was
believe.
a water line that broke,
Froze.
their house, the pipes froze up.
But there was explanation behind that. There was a
Right,
tangible
that's the
explanation.
It was a
That's the
There was
reason for
evidence to support that bill.
Those two.
Right.
It's evident.
So that makes sense.
That makes sense.
All right. When,
But the others don't
going
have
back to my Army
evidence.
days, if you eliminate all the impossible things, the only thing left is what is possible, okay? So if we look at all these things and say, what is impossible? Is it impossible that the water leaked all over the place because there's broken pipes? Yes, it is, because we didn't find that, okay? Is it impossible that the water leaked all through her toilet, all through her floor, and then it's all over her house is all, that's out thing. Is it impossible that the meter could be wrong? I don't think so, because when we looked at the usage, she had used 330 gallons since the last wanding. Okay, so if you look at her past history that we looked at going back a year, she had average usages, but she also had usages that were 8,000, 8,800 gallons and 6,800 gallons. But if you have an open toilet, just wide open, the flapper's stuck open, it's about 120-some thousand gallons of water in a month.
That's correct. I do agree with that.
If you have just a leaky toilet, that's just, that the flapper's going down and it's just leaking, let's say at a gallon per hour. If thing's wide open, it's a gallon and a half a minute. But if you figure that it could be a gallon an hour, that's 43,000 gallons a month. So that's the possible. But I think the 66,000 is high, but I don't know what other water usage she has in terms of doing laundry or whatever else, so. I agree with, Eric that I think we should negate the sewer part and,
For the Bradshaws as well?
yes.
For the, Mr. Gregory?
Is there only one toilet in the house? I mean, what's the case?
I've yet to
So
hear.
if we negate the sewage, what would the bill be?
545 instead of
1,100.
11 something.
And we would still, would the town still consider a payment plan if council goes that way?
Yeah, and I would recommend
Yeah.
whatever payment plan
If
that
it's
she can work.
6 months, whatever. I mean, I don't know what y'all typically do.
We
What
do
is-
payment plans all the time.
I did see one hand I did not recognize real quick. Ann Stiles had a point earlier.
I just wanted to say, I own an unoccupied house for 30 months. My usage was under 500 gallons a month. I paid for considerably more than that. So you are getting extra money from few people in situations like that.
Your minimum was far more than what you were actually using because the house was not occupied.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
right.
right. And I'm just suggesting benevolence when there is an unusual situation.
If we just have something to hang our hat on, the frustrating thing with this council is we want facts. And when you don't know, the only fact we know is we got two people that have a crazy bill. If you're going to have a crazy bill, you at least want to enjoy it. Heck, I've had a bill that I at least like to say, yeah, we had a splash party that night. We went crazy and sprayed everybody with a water hose for 12 hours. We have nothing to hang our hat on here. I've yet to hear a motion. Members of council, is there a motion? Is there a motion?
I move that we waive the sewer charges for both the Gregory and the Bradshaw bill and allow a payment plan at whatever we need to do. Whatever's
Okay.
satisfactory to the user.
Town staff and the user. The council has done 8 months before in the
Yeah,
past.
well, they said a year on some of them, so if it takes
Okay.
a year, that's
All
fine.
right.
I mean,
Mr. Nash has moved away the sewer on both bills and then to let town staff accept the payment plan. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
A second.
Okay. I'm gonna give the second to Mr. Morgan. We will go with a roll. Any further discussion? I'll go with a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-1. We thank you all for coming here on that issue, and hopefully it won't happen again. Yes, is that Richard Eden? I don't have my glasses.
It looks like it.
Let the woman know that I'm going to call the town office tomorrow and pay her bill for her.
Well, I think it takes us a while on Black Silver, but we always usually get it right and have a happy ending. Thank you, Mr. Eden. That's mighty nice of you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. I know it means a lot. Bless you. We're going to move right along to our scheduled visitors. We have Miss Annie Williams on the agenda, and I believe she is here. Miss Williams, and you have some representatives as well, I believe. Come on up. It's a little warm.
you want me?
Mr. Nash here. We have Miss Annie Williams and Mr. Golson. Mr. Russell Golson, I believe.
Okay,
Yes, the floor is yours, ma'am.
I came up and put my name on the agenda because I was concerned about a sewer line coming through my front yard. And I was told when I bought that property that that street was undeveloped, and the only way it could be opened is that the landowners opened it.
You live on Lesser, you live at 715 Lesser Street,
Lesser
correct?
Street.
And the street you're referring to is a street that's on paper
It's
called
Powell
Powell
Street.
Street, but it's never been
That's
formally
right.
developed by the town. Okay.
That's right. And they told me if I sold any of the land to anybody, I had to give them a way out. And that mean I would have to open that road, that street, for them to come out of what I sold them.
Okay.
But when I came up to talk to the town manager, and we got a little hostile about it, and he was telling me that it wasn't my land, and it was nothing I couldn't stop it. It was nothing I could do about it. And I got kind of upset. But I would let Mr. Golson explain. He can do a better job at it than I
Absolutely.
can.
And just in the interest of council, Mr. Golson and I met last Wednesday, had a discussion about a half hour. And I did send an email about that meeting to the town staff and Tom Wilkinson, who chairs the Fire and Water Committee. Mr. Golson, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for this privilege. Ms. Jones also is a landowner in the same situation as Ms. Williams and Ms. Jones. Now, after talking with your mayor, I feel that this can be worked out for the benefit of the town, the benefit of the builder, and the benefit of the landowner. Because it seems like to me, it's just a problem with who really owns the land. And according to the Constitution of the United States, Amendment 14 and Amendment 5, it tells you precisely how a government can get land from a landowner, and it tells you the procedures that they have to go through. And right now, I feel like your mayor and I have had a very positive conversation, and I think we need to table everything about this until we meet again and get the landowners, the builder, and the town involved and resolve this issue. Because they're not saying they do not want the sewer line. But what they're saying is, let's do it indecent and in order.
Right.
That's all they're saying.
And to make sure that indeed, if there's any documentation on Powell Street, or that which is said to be Powell Street, being indeed owned by the town.
Right.
Just to dot the i's and cross the t's.
Right.
Members of council, if it's okay, I've asked this matter to be referred to the Fire and Water Committee, and I can assure you, as Mr. Goss said, they support the project.
Right.
It's just a matter of the location of the lines. It's fairly close to her house.
Coming across my sidewalk,
Right. So
in my hedges.
I will hereby order that matter to be referred to the Fire and Water Committee. Colonel Tom Wilkinson chairs that committee, and we'll meet expeditiously. And
I side with that as long as the builder as well
is included. Oh yeah, I wanted to make sure. Yes.
Not wait several months because obviously builders probably looking at Fastly and stuff like that.
This is Frankie Williamson's project. Yes. So make sure we include Mr. Williamson and have a time set up as soon as possible.
I concur.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, you're Bridget.
I'm Bridget, yes. I went up to the courthouse on Wednesday, well, Tuesday, and there is nothing showing of an easement filed at the courthouse on this property at all.
Those are the things that haunt us. And a lot of times, as I told Mr. Golson, I can recall, I've sat in these chambers and seen councils pass laws, and you go look in the code, and it's like, I was there. Where's that law? Things don't get recorded properly. So
It never was an easement. It never was an easement. It was always a road.
It's just an on-paper road, so it doesn't have to be recorded. And if there was an easement through there, yes.
So
Say once the sewer line goes through there, there would be an easement at that time, yes.
But is the location of the road able to be surveyed and determined to make sure?
That's what needs to be done correctly.
Yeah, we don't want to just say, well, we think Powell Street's right about here. Come on, boys, run the line.
Yeah, that would need to be done correctly.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
But to add to that, now according to the Constitution of the United States, I don't think it's the way you're saying it. Because you are supposed to have a deed on file to Powell Street. And you can read the Constitution. I'm not just talking. I'm talking from the law. But again, these ladies is not arguing the point they don't want the sewage line.
Right.
So that is not the issue here.
But we want to do it properly.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. And we're going to strive to do that. We thank y'all. We thank you. Our next visitor, Scooter Coger's here. And I thought we cut all the trees down. Hey, Scooter.
How y'all doing tonight?
Good. How you doing?
Just fine. I'd like to appreciate y'all having me here tonight. Just here real quick. I think last year the town was the town enjoyed the lumberjack competition we put on here. We got a lot of interest, and I'm getting a lot more interest from the community and from the outward community. I've gotten actually a lot of other towns that want me to come and put on a similar show, but I told them that, I've told them that, I'm a born and raised Blackstone boy, so I'd like to keep it here. But I'm asking tonight for permission to use the grounds of the Harris Memorial, or the Harris Armory, for the show as in association with the Arts and Crafts Festival in 2019.
Outside in the field in conjunction with, just like you did last year.
Exact same footprint, exact same everything this year. Really no changes. It'll be a Saturday show again, and just trying to get the ball rolling a little earlier for myself this year.
Very good.
Yes,
so
sir.
you like I said, the sooner you know, the more you can get sponsors and get competitors.
Move to approve this request.
Second. Mr. Nash has moved. Mr. Miller has seconded. Any further discussion?
Will cousin Arden be coming?
Most likely,
Okay, good.
most likely.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Scooter.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. You really added a lot to the festival last year. Yes, sir, Mr. Golson.
I hate to be,
You're fine. You're fine. Whenever you say the Constitution, you have our ears.
What we're hoping is that all projects relative to this Power Street be stopped until we can really feel like who owns the property and how we're gonna do it. Because right now, I think the builder has sent surveyors out on their property without even notifying them, and they walking out seeing people all over their property.
The property in question has been zoned for apartments, so this council by law can't say stop building. The fact of the matter is, he's zoned to build apartments. He's gonna get town sewer. The question.
No. We're not talking about the apartments.
Okay.
We're talking about their property. All that the contract is currently doing needs to stop until we identify who owns the land and then come up with an agreement.
Flagging.
Oh, okay.
A whole bunch of flags out there.
They've been surveying Powell Street.
Can we get the town manager to see what can reasonably be done to accommodate this? I don't know if we have the authority to just say cease.
But first you need to find out who owns it.
Correct. You're correct.
So you may be in violation of a lawsuit. And my thing would be is let's not do this. Let's find out who owns the land and then move forward.
Okay. Can we?
One thing to say.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm saying, I want them to do it properly, because had I not been at home, part of my land would have been gone. And it's not right. I went out there to ask them, why were they in my yard? These were the surveyors. And he said they were looking for a stake. And I told them, if you back up some, you might find it. He's gonna tell me that no, the property line goes through those trees in your yard, in which I told him, no, they do not. I had my land surveyed, and when I planted those trees on my property, I did it with enough space for limbs to grow for the type of tree that it was.
Right.
When he found out that I knew what I was talking about, he went back out there and moved it, and he came over and told me, ma'am, you are correct. And I said, thank you for coming to tell me what I already know, but I was headed to Nottaway. He said, we're not gonna take my land.
Right.
The house beside mine has no property back. The best they can do, I'm sorry it's yours, but the best they can do is run a driveway right up beside the house.
Let's get the word out tomorrow that we need to cease and desist until we get this resolved. Let's get the word out to the town manager and we need to just stop and expedite this fact-finding
I
mission.
don't think he's gonna be back tomorrow.
I know, but we can get hold of Mr. Williams and say, we just need to stop and get this right. Because we don't want to get the town in trouble, we don't get Mr. Williams, and they support the project. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because Phillips, he might not be here tomorrow, so let's go ahead and just contact Frankie and see if they can just stop.
Right. Thank y'all. Thank you. Well, this is a case of communication. It'd been nice to get a knock on the door and say, let people know what you're doing. Any other visitors at this time who have not scheduled? Yes, sir. If you come to the podium, or
I don't know if I'm on there or not. I was here on Tuesday.
yes.
He is under buildings, property, and cemetery.
Is that Mr. Varner?
Yes, sir.
We've got you later in the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else before we get to the fire chief? Seeing no one, Chief Tomer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We did finally get the bids in for the turnout gear as enclosed in your packet. Regretfully, we did go over budget by $2,257. We're still asking for permission to purchase the turnout gear and utilize budgetary funds to offset the $2,200. For next year's capital outlay, I actually made a request to increase it to $25,000 versus the $20,000 that we've been using for many years now.
Who was low bidder, the 2724?
It's only one bid.
Oh, is that municipal emergency?
For turnout gear, yeah, they're a sole provider.
This is 5 sets or 6 sets?
5 sets, and we added an additional pair of pants on there for a pair that was damaged.
Okay.
Is there a reason only one company is able to?
There was another company that was trying to get the ability to sell, and Globe shot them down for some reason.
What is the total when you add all this? So what?
It's going to be $4,136 per member or per set.
Correct.
We can do 5.
5 sets. Okay. Members of council, what's your pleasure? And the low bidders are in your packet. Municipal Emergency
Move
Services.
to approve in the amount of $22,257.38, and with the remaining funds coming out of the fire department budget, correct?
Correct, our budget line.
Is there a second to Mr. Nash's vote? Ms. Thompson, seconded. Any further discussion? Due to the dollar amount, I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0.
And with that being said, the overall cost to outfit a firefighter now is $10,445. That's turnout gear and an air pack.
Does that include helmets and gloves and all
That's
that?
everything.
Wow. Very good.
Let's see, burn ban's in effect now, and of course, in town limits, it's always banned for open air burning. We're gonna be doing a Boston Butt fundraiser on March 2nd. The community CPR class that we had planned is gonna be changed to a different date due to a conflict. It's now March 9th.
March the 9th? Is that a Saturday? What day of the week is that?
Excellent question.
It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday.
What day is it?
March 9th.
March the 9th. Is that the fire station?
Yes.
It's open to the, yes, sir. Is it free and open to the community?
From what I understand from,
Hold on, Chief, Fire Chief's got the floor.
from the instructor, the $40 covers the cost of the book and the certification cards through the license and agency.
And it's AED, which means it teaches you how to use one of those automatic defibrillators.
Defibrillators, correct.
I say this, folks, just for the fact that I've got a 46-year-old friend who never had a sign of any heart issues, and he had a massive heart attack Friday night. Luckily, he was in Chesterfield 5 minutes from St. Francis. He was out for 6 minutes, and when they finally arrived, they had a defibrillator, and they brought him back to life. But a doctor and they were playing church basketball. A doctor and the other team did CPR on him for 20 minutes, broke several ribs. But he's someone I had breakfast with 2 days earlier. I don't know if that had happened, what I'd have done. I mean, I'd have tried to do CPR, but I'm gonna try to go to that class.
And anybody can buy an AED now. You don't need you could go to Walmart, Sam's Club, CVS, a little bit over $1,000 for a.
And that's something I wanted to ask. How many public buildings in the town of Blackstone own do we have? I know that every police officer has an AED in their car, correct? Please tell me yes. Is that right?
Yes.
And knows how to use them?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have an AED in the lobby of the police station or in this building here?
We had one, I had a in the police department. We did have one there. There wasn't one here. I don't know if it's enough.
There's one in the electric department's lineman trucks.
Okay. Good. Good.
I think Walmart has one, and I don't know if any of the community churches have gotten any.
And check to get one here. I mean,
We have two here, I believe.
okay.
But I don't know that they work.
One of us doesn't take that class.
Dr. Bradshaw?
You can get them, horse seems to be going, but I think you can get them for a lot less than that in some places. There are places like in Petersburg, Holmes Heights, that they estimated about less than $400.
Well, let's go there.
Can would it be out of order to ask the council to approve 3 or 4 of our and pay for the $40 fee for that class that Saturday? It'll be extra time, but
I think it's something absolutely, but yes, it would be in order. It'd be.
I move that the town pay for up to 3 individuals to go take the class that
Who will be
Saturday.
the ones though? Who?
They can decide. I mean,
How long does the class run? 2-3 hours?
I believe it should be 6 hours or so.
Okay. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
we'll pay them
I'll
to take the
second it.
class.
Okay. Mr. Hasbrook is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, wonderful.
What is the date of that class?
Saturday, March the 9th. Chief Kuzmak, you had a question.
I don't want to interrupt, Mr. Mayor, but you know, we do have an in-house instructor. I mean, police staff can provide the instruction as well, instead of.
It's true, on your own time.
Well, if they, the motion's still in order. If 3 people want to go, they can. If not, I think if they, in the spirit of Mr. Nash's motion, let's get Mr. Scott over here one day, or if we can, and get him to train people. Because anyone that works for the public, you never know when you're going to be in a situation.
I mean, someone could run to the town hall and just.
Absolutely.
Need help.
Absolutely.
One question under number 2, under new business, it says $12,000 paid by the Burn Building Association.
Correct.
How much money is in the Burn Building Association fund?
I was told 16 and change.
So this is our way to kind of get some
We're
of that
trying
money
to,
gone?
we're trying to wipe out that completely.
Okay.
When this is spent, then we're gonna go on to something else on the list to spend it down.
Very good. And the location of your fundraiser, will that be at the fire station or that'll be downtown?
Fire station
Fire,
is
okay, just-
normally what we shoot for.
Very good.
Also, a couple things that I didn't include, tornado drill
Yes.
is going to be March 19th. It's going to be the day after the council meeting in March.
Okay,
That will occur at 9:45 in the morning.
okay.
March 11th is the Nottaway County budget hearing. I'm once again going to approach Nottaway County to assist or possibly consider assisting in the funding of a ladder truck, since this is more of a county vehicle, not just a town of Blackstone vehicle. The grant's 1.2 million. The grant will only cover 950,000. So we're still going to be in a deficit of $250,000 to $300,000.
So awards made for that grant.
They should start this spring.
Won't be long.
So I'm going to try and shoot for that. And also, I'm sure some of you saw that Karen Giles, who used to be a firefighter for Burkeville, she used to run with Nottaway County Rescue, and we've had her multiple times when we needed to have some debriefings after a critical incident. Regretfully, she died on a head-on collision on Janto Road. She was definitely I believe she started in Virginia, Nottaway County.
Wow. Was it a line of duty death? Was she?
No.
Oh, just very sorry to hear that.
And that is all I have.
Any questions for Chief Tomer? Chief, thanks for everything. I know you guys are busy tonight burning on Doswell Street.
Well, hopefully that's all.
And, I think Stuart wanted to make mention too, the house on Center Street could not be burned, I think because they thought it was too close to a neighboring
house.
So the town is going to knock it down, and then I think y'all will burn.
It's already,
pile.
It's already piled up and.
Burn the
is
pile.
You go by Nan's in a big pile.
Very good.
Okay, never mind.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Ooh, with an iron fist.
Next up, ladies and gentlemen, you have your payment of bills. The first batch to be paid. These are checks not yet approved. They total $820,618.79.
Jennifer Hardy says, if you have any questions, please email her, and she will get back to you as soon as possible.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Well, I guess you'll contact Jennifer Hardy. Ask for a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0. And the second batch, which were not earmarked for me tonight for some reason, they total $480,728.75. These are broken down by department. Members of council, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion?
Even though they're not here, but Rugby Environmental, we've got 3 different charges for them. It totals about $3,000, and I hope that they're pass-throughs. I believe that's for asbestos, so let's just make sure, because I believe it's probably liens put on properties for houses torn down.
You said one was gonna be a lien and one's gonna be paid.
Yep, Goswell, Center Street, and
And they've been, Main Street, there's a shed there.
Yep.
So they're pass-throughs, just wanna make sure that we bill them.
Very good, very good. We'll have a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0. We have committee reports, and your first committee is the Buildings, Property, and Cemetery.
Yes.
We have the chair, Ms. Hasbrook, recommendations.
Okay, under cemetery appeals, the family member for the Moore Branch family came, committee reviewed, and we also went out to the cemetery, and we recommend approval of the upright headstone, the head is grave, and any adjacent stones must be flush.
All right, is that a motion? This motion's been made and seconded to grant the appeal from the Moore France family. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. In case you're wondering in the audience what's going on, the cemetery policy requires the headstones be placed in the center of a plot. And as the town manager predicted, with the new policy in effect, if you want to move your headstone, it has to come before the council. So, Ms. Hyde, I just wanted to
Just make it clear, what we're voting on is that this one is allowed to be above ground, but any ones around it from now on
Must
are
be
not.
flat.
they must be flat.
Right.
Philip went back and they looked at the records also, and I think it was the McKissick. They must have given or sold to the Moore family. So even though it has the MSK little blocks around there, now the Moore family actually owns all the lots. There is no McKissick that own it anymore. Because we were wondering, I think, why it was Franz and Moore and there were no McKissicks in there. So it is owned by the Moores now, and I think that one was donated to the grandson for the Franz man. So
And he was agreeable with that no other headstones be above ground.
Back to the chair.
Okay, we're gonna have, on the town square, the rules and regulations, the manager, town manager is going to be providing cost. We're using the town square report back to the committee, so no decision was made there.
Okay.
Armory grants, Philip provided, a list of, grants that are available. Some of them would be more, that could be used better for the armory than others. But it was also discussed and recommended by the committee to go ahead and select a committee for the voting process. Voting process is going to take a bit as the grants, finding the grants is going to work, but there's no point in applying for a grant if we have a voting process and we turn it down, because once you apply for the grant, you have to carry forward.
You're on the hook.
Yeah, you're on the hook, so.
So the committee wants council to appoint a committee that would be wording the ballot for the town voting day.
Correct.
And it would consist of 2 members on here. I believe we had mentioned Armory committee members, any other general people that would like to be on it.
Okay. Do we want to do that tonight? So,
Clerk's shaking her head yes.
okay, so two for council, 1 from the Armory group, and a citizen at large?
Yes.
Okay, well then,
Let's have 5. Make it odd number.
I got a question.
yes, Mr. Miller.
Is this thing that y'all doing with this vote, is it legal?
Oh, yes, sir. It's not a referendum through the General Assembly, it's an advisory. It's basically the town, it'd be like if I said, hey, I want this council to find out if the people like 2-hour parking or not. And this council were to say, okay, well, let's find out, let's pick 2 merchants, 2 members of council, and the mayor to craft a ballot, and voters can vote one day. It's informal, it's unusual. You don't read the big cities doing this, but this has been such an unusual issue. I think all of us here want to know, it's like only God knows what the people of Blackstone want. God, can you show us? Well, this is the best thing we can do.
But you said it's legal for us to get the voting ballots, right? Or is
Yeah,
it legal voters?
we're not doing an election that says, okay, this is how we're going to decide the next mayor or pick a council. We're trying to find it's a poll.
But the town staff that would be working on this, the day that they do the voting, we would have a list of registered voters, and then we could check them off to make sure the mayor's not coming to vote 5 times.
Correct, and you'd have people could observe, people that are skeptics, people that are supporters could sit there and go, wait a minute, nah, that's so and so's cousin. That's not someone. But yes, Mr. Miller, what are your concerns?
My concern is, do you have to be registered to vote?
Yes.
That's the only way you can really. You can't just. That's the only guide we had that shows someone lives here.
Because we had originally talked about years ago, a year or 2 ago, sending surveys out to families, but then you don't know, did the survey really, too much?
Did they duplicate it and mail it in 3 times?
Yeah.
Somebody from Amelia could come up here.
Right.
Okay, now, if it comes up and says, I want a community center, is that gonna be it?
Well, that's a question. I've said, and I'll say it again, if this council goes down this street called informal referendum, town voting day, I think we have to look the people in the eye and say, now look, we're going to do this. And whether it's 20% turnout or someone wins or loses by 5, we can go ahead and say, no, we don't want to, but we're going to agree, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're going to use to make our decision. There's no law that says, if they say, yes, I want a 10,000 square foot pool, that we have to do that. But I think if it was 80% saying yes, I know if I was elected official, I'd vote to do it. Mr. Osborne.
Mayor, how come after 131 years deciding everything in this community, suddenly the Armory has to be put out to the public? If Armory Creek people, we do not, under any circumstance, think you just should divide this community with a referendum. That's all.
Well, just remember, Mr. Osborne, if we're gonna do history, we must
I'm
remember.
not asking for another thing, I just want to make a comment, Mayor, thank you.
I just want to correct the record. In 1983, the people of Blackstone voted on year-round dog confinement. And 1955, the people of Blackstone voted against fluoride in the water. So it's not unprecedented. Yes, I see a hand, but I can't see who. Yes, Kathy.
My question would be, how can we take a vote if we don't have any idea of what grant funding might be there? People may say no because they think that the town of Blackstone is gonna foot the whole bill.
Correct.
But if we're able to get some grant money, if that's a possibility, that would effectively change the wording of your ballot.
I think what the chair is recommending and the town manager is we can walk and chew gum at the same time. In one step, we're going to identify grants that are attainable and what the local match would be. And as council ascertains that data, a committee would say, look, if we're going to put this thing out there, let's have an accurate ballot that is transparent and realistic that says, are you willing to spend $2 million? Are you willing to spend $1 million?
And it will have a rough idea as to what tax rate for both projects, because it's going to be an increase of revenue.
Do you want a pool or do you want none of the above?
It's going to be an increase, whether it's community center, armory, whatever. It's going to be an increase in taxes somewhere. Whether it's a 50-50 grant, it's going to be an increase. But we don't know until we've looked at several grants in Brownfield, and they're all 50-50. That's the best we're coming across right now.
I see Mr. Zachary Whitlow.
But you got the community block grant that's coming up in this project.
Mr. Whitlow.
I'm not trying to get in the middle of it.
Oh, welcome. You're in the storm now. Come on.
Main Street is all about preservation. Like, I just want to be sure, like, between whoever's crafting any questions, that our historical tax credits, about 45% of what the overall budget for the project could be, being taken into consideration before, because I think the federal level is 20% and state is 25%.
Right.
So 45% of your budget would be reduced by historical tax credits.
I think Zach just volunteered himself for the committee.